back, listeners, to the BizBlend podcast. I'm your host, Sana, as always. And think about this. What happens when leadership meets complexity and refuses to flinch? Now, you know, this is the podcast where strategy meets soul. Now, today, we are diving into one of the most urgent leadership challenges of our time: navigating conflict and polarization without losing your values, your people, or in fact, your sanity. And joining me is Dr. Thomas Becker. He's an organizational psychologist, leadership expert, and also the author of Beyond the Diversity Wars. With over 35 years of experience guiding leaders through change, performance pressure, and the messiness of the modern work culture, Dr. Becker brings clarity to where others see chaos. And today's episode explores the detente mindset, a nuanced, values rooted approach to leading through division, and how a whole person appreciation can build resilient teams and cultures that thrive beyond labels. So let's quickly get into it. So, Dr. Thomas Becker, welcome to the show. And I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
I really
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Dr. Thomas, to start with, what exactly is detente mindset in the context of modern leadership, and why do you believe it's not just idealistic but it's necessary?
that's a good question. I see this basically the art of coexisting with disagreement. In the U.S. and I know elsewhere in the world, of course, including India, UK, Australia, Canada, elsewhere. There's a great deal of polarization, perhaps more so now than ever before, where people don't just hold disagreements, but have, nearly violent reactions to disagreement, oftentimes,
Yeah.
certainly within a mindset of let's attack rather than let's coexist. So, I really believe that taking this detente mindset can help leaders navigate, team tensions, generational divides, ideological clashes, and all the other sort of identity based conflicts that we face in the world. Um, yeah, so I really think that's the value that it has for business leaders.
Hmm. And I agree. I mean, it's surprisingly, and I don't know whether Dr. Thomas, but I'm seeing this, increase need of reacting to a disagreement or a conflict in a more violent way, or taking offense, um, just at the very, um, even thinking or understanding that maybe this person doesn't agree with me, so this person doesn't like me. That means it's kind of a threatening situation to me. I don't know, but I'm observing this, and that's why maybe leaders, they either retreat from conflict because they just want to avoid these kind of situations, or they completely get into it without any strategy. So I'm really curious how the daunt plays into high performance without even falling into passivity.
Yeah, I think your observations are right on the money, Sana. Just a couple of other comments on that. I know here in the U.S. there's such a polarization of what used to be considered to be, liberal versus conservative political views. Oftentimes that overlays onto other social issues. And there's always been disagreement there. But the lack of civility that has come with and, been highly increased over the last few years is remarkable. Some people here are quick to blame a single individual, like, say, President Trump. There's various very opinionated reactions to him, and so
Mm,
blame him for this polarization. And without taking a definite stand on that, I would say, although there's some truth to that, one's got to ask themselves, well, why do so many people then follow into this path of, us versus them, and even more so than that, why so non-civil about it? Why such an attack posture? And I think
mm,
that the mindset here, that's where this becomes critical, because uh, the value of a detente mindset, whether you're a leader, a follower, or just dealing with conflict in everyday life, means that you don't have to give up your own perspective. Like you mentioned, sometimes leaders will just sort of cave or ignore or conflict, or sometimes they go on to the attack and feel like I've got to force my views on other people. But that's not the only strategies that are available. The detente mindset allows the other person to have their perspective without you giving up your own. Um, but the goal is not to win or to beat the other person, or to just accommodate yourself to their views, but rather to continue having a conversation and communication, with the hopes that there are ways that we can move forward with pursuing justice or performance or relevant to businesses and society. Doing is you need a particular way. Can't continue the conversation. You obviously can't address the problem.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And also, um, in today's polarized work environments, how can leaders practice whole person appreciation without, diluting standards or, over personalizing workplace dynamics? Because that can be really, really tricky.
Agreed, agreed. Yeah, I see these 2 ideas going hand in hand. That's part of what I try to get at in, my new book, is how this detente mindset and whole person appreciation sort of go hand in hand, in a virtuous cycle where they build on each other, in a way that we are better able to see each other as human beings rather than just categories. um, it's not that those social identities are irrelevant or false. I mean, you may identify yourself as a, woman from India. I may identify myself as a man from the U.S., and that's fine. But we're much more than that. And the whole person appreciation notion is that if we're to move forward with some sort of progress in a business or in society, seeing multiple facets of each other becomes critical, because then you're talking to not just a category, but to a real person. The more you learn about somebody in terms of their values, what they believe, what they stand for, even things like, what are their idiosyncrasies. Sometimes in the workplace, you might have two people, let's say two managers, that disagree vehemently in terms of how to best handle a problem, like, say, low performance of one of their employees. They may disagree, but maybe they connect because of the fact that they both happen to love, some kind of music like jazz or classical. So, if they don't know what each other's interests are, then they don't have any bridge. But if you and I clash on something and we both know, hey, we love the same kind of music, that gives us a starting point for discussion. So the more we know each other beyond, just a couple of categories, really is an important step towards holding a detente mindset and, working together where we can to address the issues that we hold in common.
Yeah, right. And then talking about your book, Beyond the Diversity Wars, it talks about moving past the noise. Can you break down one, common misconception in today's DEI conversation that you think is holding leaders back?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So I'll just pick one as
Mm.
you suggested. So diversity, equity, and inclusion has a long history in the US. Of course, with respect to African Americans, dating all the way back to the era of slavery and the events that have happened since then. So I guess one common aspect of noise in that regard is in the DEI context, trying to, let's say, increase diversity of the workforce in a given company, um, rather than focusing on the entire person, sometimes companies just engage in, checking boxes. Do we have enough African Americans? Do we have enough women? Do we have enough Hispanics? Do we have enough? Whatever it is that fills the little matrix so that we can say, we've checked all the boxes and we now have a diverse workforce. But I think, that's to some degree an aspect of noise. Again, not that social identity is not important or relevant when it comes to acknowledging and making progress with regard to uh, race to go in the U.S. But the question is, what do we want to, how do we accomplish those goals? And I don't think it's just checking boxes. It's developing a perspective where our goal really is to understand and appreciate the other person even where we disagree values. So that's an example of where I think noise can kind of interfere with real progress is if a company just takes a so-called performative approach where, hey, we're checking the boxes, we're trying to look good if we're, members of human resource management in an organization. And and the matrix becomes the focus rather than on humanity of the people that we're hiring, the employees that we currently have, and making HR decisions effectively.
Hmm. And that definitely it's completely different from the traditional DI frameworks that may, it's unintentional, but they may polarize or maybe oversimplify identity.
Yep.
Um, and talking about the results also, Dr. Thomas, in companies that embrace detente and whole person leadership, um, what tangible performance shifts have you seen? Let's say in productivity or innovation or retention as well.
Yeah. I want to be very careful here, to be honest with you and your listeners, and not try to oversell something. My experience is sometimes uh, somebody has an idea or a theory or a model, and they want to make radical claims about, hey, if you just do this, this is going to solve all your problems. And those promises usually end up being far fetched and or we fall short of those. I think, when it comes to a détente mindset and whole person appreciation, the evidence is that it can help you deal with conflict effectively. It can give you a path forward. And that's not a guarantee that productivity and profits are gonna raise, the next financial quarter. Uh, I think what it means is that over the long run, the well-being of employees will be enhanced And to the extent that things like job satisfaction are linked to job performance, that you're going to see greater performance results over time as your employees begin to feel like, the company really doesn't just see me as a symbol or a representative of a group. They see the value that I bring to the organization, and they truly, want to understand and work with me to our mutual benefit. So I think that's what you can fairly say about this approach is it's not a panacea. It's not something that's going to have magical results. Some consultants I know try to oversell their perspectives, but I think a honest answer to your question is that if if they are practiced consistently and with well-meaning on the part of employers and managers and employees towards their coworkers, that it can build a more cohesive workforce, which then if there's, high productivity norms can result in longer and better productivity over time.
Mm, that does. That does. And yeah, many metrics they do matter, but uh, also the human point comes definitely into the factor. So, with that, Dr. Thomas, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, get a hold of your book, and also explore more about, because we have so many founders and business owners listening to us, how they can get this applied and
Sure.
get started. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best place really to reach me to learn more about me and to communicate with me would be on LinkedIn. You can just search for Thomas E. Becker. My profile will pop right up. If you search under Thomas Becker, you'll get multiple hits, but Thomas E. Becker will pull my profile up. You can message me there. We can have a conversation. If you want to learn a little bit more about my past research and things that I'm interested in and that might pertain to you as a listener, that would be a great place to go. I can also give you a email address where you can reach me, and that address is Becker T1000. So that's so I check that regularly. I respond to reply to people that are interested in further discussing this and related topics.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And thank you so much, Dr. Thomas, for helping us unpack how a detente mindset and a whole person appreciation, something which I also learned today, they can transform conflict into collaboration and also complexity into clarity. Thank you.
That's exactly right. Thank you again so much for having me on this show, Sana.
So, listeners, leadership isn't about having the loudest voice in the room. No, not at all. It's about creating space for wisdom, resilience, and real connection. If you are a founder, executive, or a change maker looking to lead with both strength and empathy, take this conversation as a blueprint. And thank you to all of you for listening to BizBlend. Subscribe, share, and let us know what would your leadership look like if you stopped choosing sides and started choosing solutions instead. Until next time, stay bold, stay human, and to connect with Dr. Thomas and explore more about his work and his book as well, just refer to the show notes along with this episode. Thank you so much.